Hey, what's going on, guys? Peety here. Today we're going to be talking about a breakdown of the new officers that this week has to offer. So we're going to go through and see which one of these. I'll just give my talking points on them. From playing with these officers so much in all the videos, I think I have a pretty good grasp on which ones are good. So I'll give you my advice, and we'll make this a regular thing. Every week I'll just put out a video talking about which ones you should pick up if I think they're worth it and why. So let's get into it. So the first guy we have is Yamoto. So this guy is applicable to all cruisers. Gives some very good bonuses. Cruisers are used to shoot down aircraft, Navy-wise. And they're also good against ships. They're not the best. Battleships are better. But these things are pretty good, especially if you pick up the other cruiser officer and then the Navy officer as well. So if you're into the Navy, getting the plus 25% HP is a lot, or plus 15%, sorry, because these things have like 17,000 health. So getting that as well as the move speed and all the bonuses is really good. For this guy, what I'm going to say is it's up to you, because if you play Navy a lot, I highly recommend getting him. If you don't play Navy, then I would say hold off until you do start playing it, because it's not very worth it. So that's it for Yamoto. He's a very good pickup if you're into Navy. Now moving on to Semyon Tamanchenko. So this is the Tiger guy. I don't think there's any other Tiger officers except for Ketchup Man, Heinz, and he's applicable to all tanks. So if you're thinking about running Tigers, which is a very solid strategy, especially with tanker, this guy is a must pick up. The move speed, the plus 20% HP, and the building damage are very crazy. Oh no, there is another officer for him that does versus armor. So there are two Tiger officers, I take that back. But this is one of them. He's only $15. I have him on my main, and he's pretty solid. So if you do run Tigers, or if you're thinking about running Tigers, definitely pick him up. Alright, moving on. Oops. We're going into the British Bulldog. So Winston Churchill, he gives plus 30% versus aircraft, okay. Gives plus 13% to fortune production. Gives plus 23% to oil production. That's pretty crazy. And then applicable to units within friendly admin areas, you get plus 30% versus aircraft for your units. So that's actually he's actually pretty good. That oil production is really strong, 23%. Like, let's think. If you have a full resource zone, you get in, like, say if you have a level 8 city with a oil resource zone attached, and say it's maxed, so you have level 5 oil refineries inside of it, that's 180 per oil refinery. You have two of them, so 360 plus the one in your city, if that's maxed out as well, 360, 440, 540, so 540 oil per hour. And then this guy will give you 25%, which is about 125 roughly. So 125 oil per hour for $40. I mean, I would say that this guy would be really good for like high end game players. If you're just setting up your armies and stuff like that, and you still don't have a maxed out army as far as officers go, I would leave this guy. I wouldn't pick this guy up. I mean, he is beneficial. You can definitely use his bonuses a couple times per field, but I don't think he's worth it for the $40 price tag. Moving along, we have Alanbrooke. So this guy is really strong. He gives plus 30% versus aircraft, which these Flak 41 and Flak 36 are mainly used for aircraft. 36 are mainly used for tanks, like early game. They can be used for aircraft as well, and they're very good. But mainly you see this guy used for your Flak 41. You get a big HP buff plus 25%, plus 25% versus armored, plus 30% to aircraft, and then you get some ammo, which isn't that important. This guy's really solid. I believe there's only two Flak 41 officers, and this is one of them, and he's the strongest one, and he's also only $20. Yeah, the second guy is Douglas MacArthur. So with this guy, I definitely recommend, if like every army that you're gonna run Flak 41. If you're tanker, if you're cannoneer, or if you're airman, so your flak are very important. You don't want to get bombed. You want to be able to defend yourself. So this is a must buy, I would say. Everybody's going to have to use him eventually, and you should pick him up sooner rather than later. All right, moving on, we have the Executioner, available to Stugs. So this guy was one of my favorite officers at the beginning when I first started playing, because I had a crush on the Stugs, like a hard crush for a long time. But the reason why was because this attack range right here. So plus 10% attack range, it really makes your Stugs, it'll put a little bit of attack, like your Stugs normally have 180 attack range. With this plus 10%, it's plus 18, and you get up to like 198 attack range with this officer. So what that means is that you can go and drive around resource zones, and if there's sniper towers there, they can't shoot back. So you can just have 10 Stugs, and you can roll around and kill every resource zone on the map if you wanted to, and never get hit. So I really like this guy for that reason. Is that, do I use him anymore? Not really. There are times that I do, like in an early field, and I'll do exactly what I just said. I'm going to go with a yes, just because of how much I liked him back in the day, and I still do use him to this day. And the cool thing about this attack range, the tanker class, there is an attack range in there for the Stugs already that you can just upgrade through like the tech. And what I like about this guy is if you run airman or cannoneer, you're obviously not getting that bonus, that attack range. So this guy gives you the supplement, so you can still use the Stugs the same way you're used to using without tanker. So for only $15, I would say this guy is a pickup. That's really the only thing I'm looking at is the attack range. All this other stuff is kind of, I mean, you get a lot of ammo. That's pretty good. But mainly it's just for the attack range, and then there's a second Stug officer as well that does more like damages and stuff like that, and you should pick him up as well to make your Stugs really, really strong. So moving along, we have Yasuji. Oh my gosh, debatably one of my favorite officers. Now this guy, it's the same story with the attack range, except this one's for M101 howitzers. So the M101 howitzers get 240 or 250 attack range right out of the gate, just for being alive. So with 240 attack range, that's equivalent to like a level 3 turret. So if there's any bases or cities that have only level 2 turrets, just right off the bat without even this officer, you can not get hit and kill off the whole city. So with this guy, he gives you a plus 15% attack range. Now that'll push you up to like 280 something. 289, I believe, something like that, if I can remember. So what you can do with that is you can take all the way up to level 4 cities, like level 4 turrets, and you can just use these to absolutely blow the hell out of them. Now, the really cool thing about this too is it gives, if you put this in a league city, you get plus 70% of these bonuses applied to the whole league. So if somebody else has Yasuji and you're running these M101 howitzers, you say like, hey man, put him in the league city for me. When he does that, you'll get 70% of a plus 15 bonus, which is a bunch of math, but long story short, it'll put you over the 300 attack range mark. You'll be at like 308 or 315, something like that, and you'll be able to kill any city on the map that doesn't have a like a attack range turret officer. So if it's not a player, you can literally wipe over everybody and not get hit. Also, like if you're attacking rocket launchers or something like that, you can use this to kind of kite them. Usually they come after you, so I guess that's not really relevant. But yeah, the attack range here, this guy is huge. I use him in every single, for airman, tanker, and cannoneer. Excuse me. I use him for all of them because, and especially when I'm farming rebels. When I'm farming Waffen or something like that, this dude is huge. So, and then he also gives a plus 150% building damage, which they only have like 200 building damage off the rip, so this just doubles it a little bit, but it still makes him a lot better. So if you can, pick this guy up. All right, next we have freaking Georgie. So I'm actually curious. Oh, that's it. Okay. So Georgie, he applies to a lot of units, all of your units, when defending your territories or allies. He gives you plus 175 defense. He gives you plus 13% for fortune production, and then he gives you plus 23% for steel. This guy is not worth it. And he's not worth $40. I wouldn't even buy him if he was worth 20. He like plus 175 defense is just not enough to justify that price tag. And then the 23% steel production, I mean, say like a city gets 2K, that's an extra 500, so it'll take you from 2K per hour to 2,500 per hour. That's nothing too crazy. I don't think he's worth it. I say do not buy unless you like how he looks. Next we have Hannah. So this is applicable to transport planes, so gigs and your little transport planes at level 7 munition factory. You get plus 10% defense, which I believe they have 600, so it gives you plus 60 defense. Lower morale loss. Oh, dude, I've never seen that before. That's kind of interesting. Well, lower morale loss, and then you get a plus 20% HP. So I believe gigs are at 12,100, something like that, HP. So with this, you would take them to like 14K, 14,500. And then you get a little bit of defense, but the morale loss is kind of interesting. I mean, I've seen gigs be at 0% morale before, just from like getting shot at by like a scout or something like that. And when you're all the way at 0% morale, your units lose HP very, very, very quickly, like at a percentage-based rate. So like 10% of their health or something like that. So it could be a lot of damage. That's kind of interesting for $30. The main thing with gigs is if you're going to lose a gig, typically you're going to lose it because like you're getting hit by jets or a scout swarm or getting hit by AA. And so like it's going to get shot down so fast that morale is not going to play into it. I don't think the morale here is really worth it. So I'm going to say this is a skip. Don't pick up this chick. It would be cool for the HP and the morale loss, but it's just not worth it. And then finally we have the submarine officer still. So with the subs, I've been seeing a lot of mixed messages. I think they're just a little too weak right now, or they just need their strike ability to let you know if you're out of the attack range before you shoot, before these are really good. But if they ever fix that, the attack range in the versus ship here is pretty awesome. Any attack range on a long range unit like that is very welcomed. So if they do get around to fixing the strike ability, or maybe give these guys a little more ship damage, or take a little less time to submerge, a little less time to fire the strike, stuff like that, if they do that, I would say this guy would be worth it. But right now, I would only buy him if you're really into Navy and you really like the subs. So I'm going to leave it at that. All right, guys. Well, that was all the officers for this week. What is today? 6/18. So I'll see you guys next week with the next officers that are offered, and give you guys my thoughts on it. So I hope you like this video. If you have any questions that came from these officers, go ahead and leave them in the comments if I missed something, and we'll see you guys next time. Peety out.